In this video, we're going to take a look at the number group here on, again, still on the Home tab. And I'm going to select the numbers that I've got down here. And you see that by default, they're all general. And general basically means very little formatting. If you have fractions like this, it'll show you quite a few decimal places, but usually you want to control that. That's something you're not going to use very often. What we're going to do here is we're going to take the numbers in the first row here, except for column F, and then these numbers in bold down here at the bottom, except for column F. And typically when you have columns of numbers, you don't put a $sign on every single number. What you do is you put a $sign on the first row and you put a $sign on the last row. So I'm going to go up here and click on the $sign, and it adds a $sign, it adds a decimal point in 2 decimal places, and if the number is bigger than 1,000, like the numbers in the total row are down here, then it puts a comma in. Okay. Now, usually with numbers this big, you don't want to have decimal places. You know, who cares whether it's $3,070.10 or $3,070.90. So we have some options here. This one will increase the decimal places. You see we've got 1 here and 2 down here. This one will decrease the decimal places. We've got 2 up here and 1 down here. And this goes both ways. So you can increase number of decimal places if you want to. And one nice thing that Excel does for you, when you do that, it does widen the columns automatically. It doesn't always do that with other things. But I don't want any decimal places here, so I'm going to bounce on this 4 times. Get rid of all my decimal places. Notice that once the column has been widened, it does not go back and shrink the column up again. If you want to do that, you'll have to do it manually. So this is what's called the accounting format. It doesn't say accounting up here anymore because I customized it by getting rid of the 2 decimal places. So it's called it now. It's a custom format, one that I've modified. Something I want you to notice, though, about these numbers in row 3 and row 6, when you apply the currency format, the accounting format, it puts a little bit of extra space here between the number and the right edge of the cell. Notice that these 2 rows in the middle here, those numbers don't really line up very well with the numbers on the first row and the last row. They're pretty much run right up against the right edge of the cell. There's a couple of ways to fix that. First, let's go back to our accounting format here, which I've modified a little bit. There's another option other than accounting. There's one called currency. I'm going to choose currency. And currency is almost exactly like accounting, except there was that little gap here on the right side. That little gap is no longer there. Now the numbers all line up. And the other thing is the $sign floats right up to the edge of the number. It does not stay over on the left side. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to choose accounting again. Now you see I got the little gap on the right and the $sign's over on the left. And I want to decrease the decimal places twice. Okay, now we're going to take the numbers in the middle here and we're going to apply comma formatting to them. Now there's only one that's over $1,000, so let's click on that and you see we get the comma. And we get the little gap here on the right, so now all of my columns line up. Well, they will line up once I get rid of the extra decimal places and these numbers here. So let's decrease the decimal places a couple of times. And now everything is starting to look pretty good. Now, over here in column F, I've got a column labeled percent of budget. And if this is percent of budget is the label, then that means I probably want to format these as percents, not as decimal fractions with kind of a random number of decimal places visible here. So I'm going to click on the percent button up here, and that will add a percent sign. I'll convert it to the nearest whole number percentage value, and then it will display it with a percent sign on the right. Now something interesting happens though when you do that. If you look at the ones columns here for the percents, I've got an 8 and a 9, which is 17, and a 4, which is 21. If I put the 1 down and carry the 2, I get 10 over here. So I get 101% is the total. And it kind of looks like Excel might have made a mistake. Excel did not make a mistake. What Excel does is it keeps the underlying number. If you look here, You can see the formula that was given for this. We'll talk about formulas in another video. But it keeps the underlying number. So if I take this number and I increase the number of decimal places, I see that really wasn't 28%. It was 27.5, but that gets rounded up to 28 when you get rid of this last decimal place to display. Same thing down here. That is just a little over 23.5, but that's going to get rounded up to 24. And 48.9 is going to get rounded up to 49. And if I add the numbers up now, I get 9 and 5 is 14 and 6 is 20. Put down the 0, carry the 2, and I get 20 here, carry the 2, and I get 100. And so now it comes out exactly. I think if you start increasing decimal places here, though, that may not always be true. It looks like it's holding so far, but it's not something you can really count on. Here we go again. I've got a 6 and a 9 and a 4, which adds up to 19, not 20. So it's going to look again like there's a mistake down here. But your sum is always adding up these numbers with as much precision as is actually in the number, not the precision that is used to display the number. So there's a difference. We also have some other format options here when you click on the down arrow. General, is what you get by default. You usually change that. Number is what you get when you click on the comma. Currency and accounting are basically pretty much the same. They add a $sign, a comma, and 2 decimal places. The only thing that's different is a $sign and a little bit of space over on the right side. We've got some options for dates, which we'll talk about some other time. And these other ones here, we're not going to worry about right now. But there is an option at the bottom called More Number Formats. And if you click on this, you'll see that we've got all these different categories here. You select a category on the left, and you'll see some options over here on the right. And I'm going to go down here and click on Special. And you see I've got an option for zip code, which is a 5-digit number. I've got an option for zip code +4, which should have 4 digits tacked on the end. I've got an option for phone number, and I've got an option for social security number. And I'm not sure why the phone number looks funny like that, but you can pretty much tell by looking at these other 3 that they're going to be formatted. Zip +4 is going to have a hyphen between the 5th and 6th digits, and social security number is going to have hyphens after the 3rd digit and after the 5th digit. And if we go down here and click on Custom, we were just doing social security number, and you'll see this, you can type in your own little format here. It's a little template for how you want it displayed. So if I want social security numbers displayed, with 2 hyphens in between instead of 1, I could take this type and I could apply it. Now, I'm going to get some weird stuff here, I think. If I apply it to the stuff that I had selected there, it's going to look kind of weird. But that template that I created, you can make that anything you want to make it. We've got some options here for, now the number 0 means that the digit is required. And so if I have 0.00, I'll always get 2 decimal places. And even if there's, if it's like 10 cents, 10 cents will be 0.10 because I've got a 0 to the left of the decimal. I've got 2 zeros to the right decimal. So those 3 places will always appear. If I do pound signs like I did down here, those digits will not appear unless they actually exist. So if I have the number 10, I'll get a 1 here, but a blank and a blank and a blank out in front. So that comma will only show up if I have a number that is 1,000 or higher. So there are some other options in here. You can go in, you can kind of customize these a little bit. But in general, you can do almost all the formatting you want to from the number group up here.